So we're starting on page 100 today of God to Man and Man to God, the Discourses of Mir Baba, edited by Charles Purdom. I'll just segue. The last but not least important condition of attaining success in meditation is to adopt the right technique in respect of disturbing thoughts. It is useless to waste psychic energy by direct effort to repress them. Such an attempt leads to further attention to the disturbing thoughts, which feed upon the attention given to them and get strengthened. It is better to ignore them and return to the object of meditation without attaching undue importance to disturbing factors. By recognizing the irrelevance of disturbing thoughts, it becomes possible to let them die through neglect, keeping the mind upon the object of meditation. Section 2, the chief types of meditation. Meditation is of different types, which can conveniently be distinguished. They can be classified according to the function they perform in respect of spiritual advancement, or on the basis of the part of the personality predominantly brought into play during the process, or on the basis of items of experiences involved. Subtitle: Associative Meditation and Dissociative Meditation. In the first type of meditation, the purpose of associating consciousness with the eternal truth is served, and of dissociating consciousness from the false things of the phenomenal world. There is thus associative meditation, which predominantly involves the synthetic activity of the mind, parentheses on waya, and dissociative meditation, which predominantly involves the analytic activity of the mind. Vyatirika. Associative meditation may be illustrated by the formula, quote, I am infinite, end quote, and dissociative meditation by the formula, quote, I am not my desires. Through associative meditation, the aspirant unites with the spiritual ideal as mentally constructed by him. And through dissociative meditation, he separates himself from the conditions that come to him as anti-spiritual. Associative meditation is a process of the assimilation of the essentials of spiritual life. Dissociative meditation is the process of the elimination of those factors that inhibit the life of the spirit. Associative meditation is concerned with objects selected from the land of light, and dissociative meditation is concerned with objects that belong to the land of shadows. The world of illusions is the world of shadows, which has a charm of its own. And if a person is to succeed in getting out of the world of illusions and to arrive at the truth, he must develop resistance to the enticement of the world of illusions by repeated attention to its worthlessness and develop discontent with the world of shadows. Therefore, dissociative meditation is a preliminary to associative meditation. Associative and dissociative meditation are both necessary, but the former is by far the more fruitful. When a person is surrounded by shadows, he will not be helped by being upset about them. If she is to cross with the shadows, she will increase her worries. Instead of fretting about the shadows, she should set herself to the task of getting into the full blaze of the sun when the shadows will disappear. Aimless discontent with existing limitations is to be replaced by effort directed towards the ideal. As long as the face is turned toward the sun, and as long as he walks into the light, the shadows will not be a serious handicap to a person's emancipation. Associative meditation is to the spirit what assimilation of food is to the body. As the body maintains itself by the assimilation of the right food, so the mind secures health by the assimilation of spiritual truths by meditating upon them. But it is necessary to strike a balance between different forms of associative meditation, even though they are all in their own way good, just as it is necessary to attend to the balancing of the physical diet. Disproportionate development of mental life hampers advancement because of the internal friction attendant upon it. Combinations of the different forms of meditation facilitate rapid progress because they promote a harmonized and balanced mind. The right combinations are those which promote an advancing equilibrium by emphasizing these aspects of the truth that are relevant for removing the special obstacles with which the aspirant is at the moment faced. Ernie, could you unmute and continue reading for us, please?
The analogy of diet can be extended to the second type of meditation, which consists in avoiding the things that are anti-spiritual. As faulty diet can upset physical health, so can faulty meditation throw the mind into disorder. Instinctive meditation on the objects of craving creates fetters for the mind. Therefore, it is as important to avoid the wrong type of meditation as to avoid the wrong type of food. And further, as good health requires elimination of waste products, so spiritual health requires detachment from undesirable thoughts and emotions. 3 types of meditation. So far, explanations have been concerned with 2 forms of meditation. By considering the nature of the functions they perform in spiritual advancement, it is equally illuminating to consider the nature of the part of the personality predominantly brought into play during the process of meditation. Through the application of this second principle, we have 3 further types of meditation. In the first, the intellect is predominant, and it may be called discriminative meditation. In the second, the heart is predominant, and it may be called the meditation of the heart. In the third, the active nature of man is predominant, and it may be called the meditation of action. Discriminative meditation is represented by the intellectual assertion of a formula, such as, I am not my body, but the infinite. The meditation of the heart is represented by a steady flow of love from the aspirate to the divine beloved. And the meditation of action is represented by an unreserved dedication of one's life to the selfless service of the master or humanity. Of these 3 types of meditation, meditation of the heart is the highest and most important, but the others have also their value and cannot be neglected without serious detriment to the spiritual progress of the aspirant. In fact, the different types of meditation must not be looked upon as excluding each other. They should proceed in combination. Sometimes one type of meditation leads to another, and progress in one is often held up until there is corresponding progress in the others. All types of meditation are valuable for securing the spiritual advancement of the aspirant and supplement each other. But one type of meditation may also seriously interfere with the progress of another if it is resorted to at an inopportune moment. The different types of meditation are all concerned with aspects of life that are equally true. But according to the psychic state of the individual, the assimilation of one truth of life may be more necessary than the assimilation of another. Therefore, the masters never prescribe the same form of meditation to all. They give specific instructions according to the individual needs of the aspirant. The need for instructions from the master. The type of meditation necessary in a particular situation can often not be correctly ascertained by the aspirant for himself. He can get so addicted to one type of meditation that he finds it difficult to escape from the groove that has been cut into his mind. He fails to see the importance of any other meditation and is not drawn to it. The aspirant may, of course, himself come to feel his own deficiency. But like many medicines, the meditations indicated in a specific situation may come to the aspirant as distasteful, so that he is disinclined to take them. The help and advice of the master are indispensable. Specific instructions from the master supply necessary correctives for neglected aspects of personality. Although the aspirant may start with an initial aversion to a type of meditation, he gets interested in it when he comes to see its real value and appreciates its purpose only when he has tried it. It is not possible to discover the value of any type of meditation by theoretical speculation. Like many other things of spiritual importance, meditation yields its significance after the person has experienced it, not when he tries to understand it by examination. Determination necessary for success. To have success in any mode of meditation, the aspirant must enter upon it with the determination to explore its possibilities. He must not start with reservations, but should be prepared to encourage unexpected states of consciousness and be willing to go where he is led, but without expectations. The essence of meditation is one-pointedness and the exclusion of other considerations, even when they happen to be enticing. If the aspirant adopts any type of meditation on his own initiative and without the benefit of the guidance of the master, he may get so far that he loses his perspective and is unable to recover himself. It may be impossible for him to change to some other mode of meditation, even when necessary. This is avoided if the aspirant has accepted the orders of a master. When he is under the guidance, the master asks the aspirant to halt at the right time and helps him to get out of the grooves cut by previous meditation. Three, general classification of the forms of meditation. The process of meditation aims at understanding and transcending the range of experience. When meditation is interpreted in this manner, it is seen to be something not peculiar to a few aspirants, but a process in which every living creature is in some way engaged. But the term meditation is restricted to those forms devoted to understanding experience intensively and systematically. Meditation as the natural application of the mind brings no consciousness of ultimate purposes. But spiritual meditation is deliberate, and the ultimate objective is consciousness itself. The forms of spiritual meditation are continuous with the meditation found throughout the world of consciousness. And the spiritual forms of meditation come into existence when other more general forms of meditation have brought the person to a crisis.
Thanks, Ernie. Marvin, could you unmute and continue reading for us, please?
General and specialized meditation. The spiritually important forms of meditation are of two kinds. One, general meditation, which consists in the assimilation of the divine truths, and 2, specialized meditation, in which the mind selects some definite experience and is exclusively concerned with it. General meditation is a carrying further of the ordinary thought processes systematically and intensively. It is different from the pre-spiritual meditations of the worldly only insofar as, 1, the thought processes come to be directed towards realities that have spiritual importance, and 2, the mind makes intelligent use of expositions of the divine truths without renouncing its critical powers. The specialized forms of meditation require more than an intellectual approach to the truth. In them, the mind has an opportunity for intellectual understanding of the object of meditation, but help is required to cultivate mental discipline, to develop capacities hitherto inactive, and to unfold latent possibilities of personality. The problem of the specialized forms of meditation is not theoretical, but practical. Specialized forms of meditation are helpful for overcoming specific obstacles in the way of enlightenment and realization. They aim at controlling the mind and going beyond it. Specialized forms of meditation are equivalent to the attempts of a man to break through the walls of a prison rather than the speculative formation of opinions about the strength of the prison walls. In spiritual life, even a sincere mistake taken seriously may have more value than half-hearted allegiance to theoretical truth. The practical purpose in the specialized forms of meditation may be at the cost of theoretical truth. Thus, while concentrating on a particular formula, no other formula must be allowed access to the mind, although other formulae may have the same or even greater spiritual importance. If an aspirant has been meditating upon one master, he must exclude other masters. In the same way, intensive thinking about the nature of the soul cannot be carried on while trying to make the mind blank, although intensive thinking may be as helpful towards the achievement of the goal as the process of making the mind blank. The task of bringing together the different facets of the truth and building up a complete view of life is attempted in general meditation, in which thought is free, comprehensive, and receptive to all aspects of the truth. Such general meditation has its own value. General meditation is helpful before adopting specialized forms of meditation, as well as after trying them. But it cannot take the place of the specialized forms of meditation, which have a different function. As the different specialized forms of bodily exercise need to be correlated in the light of knowledge of the health of the body, so the specialized forms of meditation have to be correlated with the complete ideal of life, which the aspirant constructs through the process of general meditation, which observes no law but that of finding the truth in all its aspects. Just as specialized forms of meditation cannot be replaced by general meditation cannot be replaced by specialized forms of meditation. The different specialized forms of meditation can be conveniently classified on the basis of the experience that the mind seeks to understand. Human experience is characterized by the dual aspect of subject and object. Some forms of meditation are concerned with the objects of experience, some with the subject. Some forms of meditation are concerned with the mental operations involved in the interaction of subject and object. Thus, we get three kinds of meditation. All the forms of meditation which the aspirant may adopt culminate in the goal of all meditation, which is to become established in the Sahaj Samadhi, or spontaneous meditation of the spiritually perfected soul. The Sahaj Samadhi has two forms, nirvana, or absorption, and nirvikalpa samadhi, or divinity in expression. Table of general classification. The classification of the types of meditation given in the accompanying table serves the purpose of summarizing what is said here. The different forms of general meditation will be dealt with in part 4. The different forms of specialized meditation, along with their subdivisions, will be explained in parts 5 and 6. Sahaj Samadhi and its forms will be explained in parts 7 and 8. A table of general classification of the types of meditation. 1. General meditation, or the assimilation of the divine truth, which is 1. Philosophical thinking, 2. Hearing a discourse from the masters, and 3. Reading the written expositions of the masters. Specialized meditation, which selects some definite items of experience. 1. Meditation concerned with the objects of experience, and 2. Meditation concerned with the subject of experience, and 3. Meditation concerned with mental operations. Sahaj Samadhi, or the meditation of those who are spiritually perfect. Nirvana, or absorption. Nirvikalpa Samadhi, or divinity in expression. Assimilation of the divine truths, number 4. A. Modes of general meditation. The beginnings of spiritual life are marked by general meditation, which does not exclusively concern itself with specific items of experience, but in its comprehensive scope seeks understanding and assimilation of the divine truths concerning life and the universe. When the aspirant is interested in the problems of the nature of life and the universe, he may be said to have launched himself upon such meditation. Philosophy is the outcome of the endeavor to grasp the ultimate nature of life. But the purely intellectual grasp of the divine truths remains incomplete and indecisive owing to the limitations of the experience available to it. The philosophical meditation of free and unaided thought does not lead to conclusive results. It often leads to conflicting systems or views. All the same, philosophical meditation is not without value because, besides leading him in the realms of knowledge, it provides the aspirant with intellectual discipline, which enables him to receive the divine truths when he arrives at them through those who know. The study of revealed truths. The most fruitful method of general meditation consists in studying the revealed truths concerning life and the universe. The discourses of living masters or the writings of the masters of the past are a suitable object for this method of general meditation because the assimilation of the divine truths so revealed enables the aspirant to bring his life into line with God's purpose.
Thank you, Marvin. Let's see if any of the people off camera want to read. Rosalie Margaret, are you there?
What? Okay, the divine. Okay, I'll read some. The divine truths are most easily grasped when directly passed on to the aspirant by a living master. Such personal communications have in them an efficacy that does not belong to the information received by the aspirant through other sources. The word becomes alive because of the life of the master. Hence, many scriptures emphasize the need for hearing the divine truths directly through the spoken word of the master, Gurmukh. The mode of general meditation, which depends upon hearing the expositions of the divine truths, is undoubtedly one of the best forms of meditation, when the aspirant has the opportunity to contact a living master and to listen to him. I need more words. It is, however, not always possible for the aspirant to contact a living master, and meditation through reading becomes necessary. For most aspirants, meditation through reading has hardly any substitute and starts with written expositions. The meditation, which takes its start from reading about the revealed truths, has the advantage of being easily accessible to most aspirants. B, reading as a meditation. Meditation through reading has its handicaps because most of the written expositions of the divine truths are meant for intellectual study rather than for assimilation through meditation. The difficulties that aspirants experience in connection with this form of meditation are that the method is not adapted to the subject matter of meditation, or little to whatever, or to some flaw in the method which makes it mechanical, or little 3, to the vagueness of the subject matter. All these causes which vitiate meditation and make it unsuccessful are avoided in the specific meditation now to be explained. The usual difficulties in meditation through reading are removed in this meditation by securing that the process of meditation, as well as the subject matter, are adapted to each other and to the conditions of intelligent meditation. 2, by explaining the different phases of the meditation that takes its start from reading. And 3, by providing an exposition, excuse me, by providing an exposition of the divine truths, which are a suitable subject matter for meditation through reading. 3 stages of meditation through reading. This form of meditation has 3 stages. 1, in the first stage, the aspirant has to read the exposition daily and simultaneously think about it. 2, in the second stage, reading becomes unnecessary, but the subject matter of the exposition is mentally revived and constantly thought over. 3, in the third stage, it is unnecessary for the mind to revive the words, and discursive thinking about the subject matter comes to an end. At this stage, the mind is no longer occupied with any trains of thought, but will have a clear, spontaneous, and intuitive perception of the sublime truth. Subject matter. Since meditation consists of intense thinking about a particular subject, it follows that the best help for such meditation is a clear exposition of the subject. The following exposition of the divine truths comprises the story of creation and an account of the path and the goal of self-realization.
So that comprises the story of creation. Go ahead.
I'll read it again. The following exposition of the divine truths comprises, what did I say?
Compromises.
Oh, I love it. I love it. That's a little bit of my personality. Sorry. Comprises. The following exposition of the divine truths comprises the story of creation and an account of the path and the goal of self-realization. This special form of meditation is not difficult because reading of the subject matter and thinking about it are simultaneous. Further, in making the exposition of the subject matter clear and concise, the likelihood of irrelevant thoughts is eliminated. It is extremely hard to avoid the disturbance of irrelevant thoughts in ordinary meditation. But they become improbable if the subject matter consists of an exposition of the supersensible truth. Aspirants who meditate upon the subject matter of the following exposition of the divine truths will find it to become inspiring and will be taking an important step towards the realization of the goal of life. See, the divine truths. Atman is identical with Paramatman, or the eternal self, which is one, infinite, and eternal. The self is beyond the material, subtle, and mental worlds, but experiences itself as limited owing to identification with the sharira, or the material body. Prana, or the subtle body, which is the vehicle of desires and vital forces, or manas, or the mental body, which is the seat of the mind. The self, in its transcendental state, is one, formless, eternal, and infinite, yet identifies itself with the phenomenal world of forms, which are many, finite, and destructible. This is Maya, or the cosmic illusion.
Thank you, Rosalie Margaret. Mr. Vijay Balakar.
Yeah. Jai Yoga. Thank you, Rosalie. States of the phenomenal world. The phenomenal world of finite object is illusory. It has three states. First, the material, second, the subtle, and third, the mental. Although these three states of the world are false, they represent different degrees of falseness. Thus, the material world is farthest from truth. The subtle world is nearer truth, and the mental world is nearest to truth. Right. But all three states of the world owe their existence to the cosmic illusion, which the self has to transcend before it realizes the truth. The purpose of creation is that the self should enjoy the eternal self consciously. Although the self eternally exists in and with the eternal being in inviolable unity, it cannot be conscious of unity independently of the creation, which is within the limitation of time. It must, therefore, evolve consciousness before it can realize its true nature as identical with the eternal being. The evolution of consciousness requires the duality of the subject and the object. The center of consciousness and the environment, that's a world of forms. Cosmic illusion. How does the self get caught in illusion? How did the formless, infinite, and eternal come to experience itself as a form, and as finite and destructible? How did the Purush, or the Supreme Spirit, come to think of itself as Prakriti, or the world of nature? In other words, what is the cause of the cosmic illusion in which the soul finds itself? To realize the eternal being, one individual, indivisible, real and infinite, the self became conscious, not of God, but of the universe, not of the eternal being, but of its shadow, not of the one, but of many, not of the infinite, but of the finite, not of the eternal, but of the transitory. Thus, instead of realizing the eternal being, the self became involved in the cosmic illusion, and though infinite, came to experience itself as finite. The organic evolution. To become conscious of the phenomenal world, the self must assume some form as its medium for experiencing the world. And the degree of consciousness is determined by the nature of the form, right? The self first becomes conscious of the material world by assuming a material body. The consciousness of the material world, which it has to in the beginning, is of the most rudimentary kind, and correspondingly the self assumes the most undeveloped form, that is that of stone. with which evolution begins. The driving force of evolution is the momentum that consciousness received owing to the conservation of the impression, sanskaras left by desires or conations. What is conation, by the way?
Got me hanging. Anybody have a guess? Conations.
Well, desire or conation, you say. Anyway, thus the
It's the same.
sanskaras, pardon me?
And it says desires or conations, so it's
Yeah.
related to desire.
Yeah, naturally. Thus the sanskaras cultivated in a particular form have to be worked out and fulfilled through the medium of a higher form and a correspondingly more developed consciousness of the material world. And the self has to assume higher and higher forms such as metal, vegetable, worm, fish, bird, and animal until it assumes a human form, in which it develops full consciousness in all the aspects of knowing, feeling, and willing of the material world. The sanskaras are not only responsible for the evolution of the form and the kind of consciousness connected with it, they are also responsible for the riveting of consciousness to the phenomenal world. They make emancipation of consciousness, the withdrawal, that is the withdrawal of consciousness from the phenomenal world to the self itself. Impossible at the subhuman stage and difficult at the human level, since consciousness clings to the previous sanskaras and experience of the phenomenal world is conditioned by an adequate form as a medium. The self at every stage of evolution, the conation said the mental faculty of purpose, desire, or will to itself, identify itself with the form stone, metal, vegetable, animal, etc. Thus the self, which is infinite and formless, comes to, can you move the, yeah, comes to experience itself as finite and think of itself as a stone, metal, vegetable, worm, fish, bird, or animal according to the degree of the development of consciousness. And finally, while experiencing the mental world, through the human form, the self thinks itself to be a human being. Reincarnation and law of karma. Wow. The self develops full consciousness in the human form, and there is no need for any further evolution of the material form or body. The evolution of forms, therefore, comes to an end with the attainment of the human form. And to experience the sanskaras cultivated in the human form, the self has to reincarnate again and again in the human form. The innumerable human forms through which the self has to pass are determined by the law of karma or the nature of its previous sanskaras. During these lives, the self, which is eternal, identifies itself with the gross or material body, which is destructible.
Thanks,
The
PJ.
second, yeah, thank you. It's interesting, huh? Keep on reading, somebody. There is
Uh,
time.
I'll take a turn. I guess we'll do like 5 minutes each this time. The
Okay.
subtle and mental bodies, while developing full consciousness of the material world in the human form, the self simultaneously develops the subtle and mental bodies. But as long as its consciousness is confined to the material world, it cannot use these bodies consciously. It becomes conscious of them and the corresponding worlds only when its full consciousness turns inwards, that is, towards itself. When the self is conscious of the subtle world through the subtle body, it identifies itself with the subtle body. And when it is conscious of the mental world through the mental body, it identifies itself with the mental body. The subtitle, The Path. The homeward journey of the self consists in freeing itself from the illusion of identity with its bodies, material, subtle, and mental. When the attention of the self turns towards self-knowledge and self-realization, there is a gradual loosening of the sanskaras, which keep consciousness turned towards the phenomenal world. The disappearance of the sanskaras proceeds side by side with the piercing through the veil of the cosmic illusion, and the self begins to transcend the different states of the phenomenal world and to know itself to be different from its bodies. The path begins when the self finds itself and turns its consciousness towards the eternal self. At the first stage, the self becomes unconscious of its material body and of the material world, and experiences the subtle world through the medium of its subtle body, with which it identifies itself. In the second stage, the self is unconscious of its material and subtle bodies, and also of the material and subtle worlds, and experiences the mental world through the medium of its mental body, with which it now identifies itself. At this stage, the self is face to face with God or the eternal self, which it realizes as infinite. But though it recognizes infinity or the eternal self, which it objectifies, it looks upon itself as being finite because of its identification with the mind or mental body. Thus, we have the paradox that the self, which is infinite, sees its infinite state, but continues to regard itself as finite because it looks upon itself as the mind. It looks upon the object of the mind as the eternal self, and not only entertains the longing to be one with the eternal self, but endeavors to fulfill that longing. Ernie, could you unmute and continue for us?
The goal. In the third stage, the full consciousness of the self is drawn still further inwards, that is, towards itself, and ceases to identify itself with the mental body. Thus, in the third and the last stage, which is the goal, the self knows itself to be formless and beyond all the bodies and the worlds, and realizes its unity with the eternal self. In this realization, it enjoys infinite bliss, peace, power, and knowledge. At the end of the path, The self frees itself from all sanskaras and desires connected with the material, subtle, and mental worlds, and from the illusion of being finite. At this stage, the self transcends the phenomenal world and becomes self-conscious and self-realized. For attaining this goal, the self retains full consciousness and at the same time knows itself to be different from the sharira, material body, prana, subtle body, which is the vehicle of desires and vital forces, and manas, mental body, which is seat of the mind. The self emancipates itself from the illusion of being finite by 1, liberating itself from the bondage of the sanskaras, and 2, knowing itself to be different from the material, subtle, and mental bodies. It thus annihilates the false ego, the illusion that I am the material body, I am the subtle body, or I am the mental body. And while the self thus frees itself from the illusion, it retains full consciousness, which now results in self-knowledge and realization of the truth. Escaping from the cosmic illusion and realizing its identity with the infinite is the goal of the long journey. 5, special meditations which are personal. It was said earlier that specialized meditation is of 3 kinds. 1, meditation concerned with the objects of experience. 2, meditation concerned with the subject of experience. And 3, meditation concerned with mental operations. These 3 kinds of meditation are interconnected because the subject of experience, the objects of experience, and the different mental operations are interwoven. Thus, meditation concerned with the objects of experience may often have reference to the subject of experience and to the diverse mental operations involved in it. Meditation concerned with the subject of experience may often involve reference to the diverse mental operations and the objects to which these mental operations are directed. A meditation concerned with the diverse mental operations may often involve reference both to the subject and the objects of experience. Yet each kind of meditation remains distinct because of the predominance of some factor. These 3 kinds of meditation can each be further subdivided according to the nature of the content of the meditation and according to the manner in which it is conducted. Out of these forms of specialized meditation, only those that are representative need mention. Thus, 12 forms of specialized meditation are referred to in the following table of enumerative classification.
Thank you, Ernie. Marvin, could you unmute and continue? Oh, could you start again, Marvin, and this time unmute?
Table of enumerative classification in the forms of specialized meditation. A, meditation concerned with the objects of experience. 1, meditation on the divine qualities of the master. 2, concentration on the form of the master. 3, the meditation of the heart. 4, the meditation of action. Those 4 are all forms of personal meditation. 5, meditation regarding the numerous forms of manifested life. 6, meditation regarding one's own bodies. 7, meditation on the formless and infinite aspect of God. Those and the following are all forms of impersonal meditation. B, meditation concerned with the subject of experience, which is number 8, quest for the agent of action, and 9, considering oneself as the witness. And C, meditation concerned with mental operations. Number 10, writing down thoughts. 11, watching mental operations. And 12, making the mind blank. It should be noted that of these 12 forms of specialized meditation, meditation is personal when concerned with a person, and impersonal when concerned with A, aspects of human personality, or B, something that falls outside the range of human personality. The forms of specialized meditation that are personal will be explained here, and those that are impersonal will be explained later. Advantages of personal meditation. Personal meditation has some clear advantages compared with impersonal meditation. For beginners, personal meditation is easy and attended with joy, while impersonal meditation is difficult, unless there is a special aptitude for it. Moreover, forms of impersonal meditation are mostly disciplines for the mind, but forms of personal meditation also draw out the heart. In spiritual perfection, the mind and the heart are both to be developed and balanced. Therefore, personal meditation, which helps the development and the balancing of the mind and the heart, has special importance. Impersonal meditation is fruitful and effective when the aspirant has been prepared through forms of personal meditation. Personal meditation is directed towards persons who are spiritually perfect. As a man who admires Napoleon and thinks about him, constantly thinks about him, has a tendency to become like him, so an aspirant who admires some spiritually perfect person and constantly thinks about him tends to become spiritually perfect. A suitable object of personal meditation is to be found in a living master or avatar, or in the masters and avatars of the past. But it is important to have as an object of personal meditation a person who is spiritually perfect. If the person selected for meditation is spiritually imperfect, there is a possibility of his frailties entering into the mind of the aspirant who meditates upon him. Personal meditation often begins by the admiration which the aspirant feels for some divine quality which he sees in the master. By allowing the mind to dwell upon the divine qualities expressed in the life of the master, the aspirant absorbs them into his own being. The master is beyond all qualities, good and bad. He is not bound by them. But the qualities he exhibits while interacting with life are different aspects of divinity in action, and the expression of divinity becomes a medium of helping those who are responsive. Appreciation of the divinity perceived in the master gives rise to forms of meditation in which the aspirant thinks of the master as an embodiment of qualities such as universal love or complete detachment, egolessness or steadfastness, or infinite knowledge or selfless action. Sometimes the mind may dwell upon such qualities in their separateness or in combinations that reveal their interrelatedness. This form of meditation is valuable when it is spontaneous. It then leads to a greater understanding of the master and gradually molds the aspirant into the likeness of the master, thus contributing towards self-preparation for the realization of the truth.
Thank you, Marvin. VJ.
Dwelling upon the qualities of the master often facilitates concentration on the form of the master. In this meditation, the aspirant is aware of the spiritual perfection of the master and fixes his mind upon the form of the master without analyzing his spiritual perfection. Though specific spiritual qualities are not revived in the mind, all that the aspirant may have understood through the preparatory meditation concerned with the qualities of the master will constitute the implicit background of one pointed concentration and contribute towards its efficacy. This form of meditation involves identification of the master with the spiritual ideal. This is responsible for removing such barriers as may exist between the aspirant and the master and gives rise to unrestrained love for the master, leading to the meditation of the heart, which consists in constant thinking about the master with an uninterrupted flow of love. Such love annihilates the illusion of separateness, excuse me, which divides the aspirant from the master and has in it spontaneity hardly paralleled by other forms of meditation. Meditation of the heart is in its final stage accompanied by unbounded joy and utter forgetfulness of the self. Modes of meditation of action. Love for the master leads to increasing identification of the aspirant with the master, so that the aspirant desires to live in and for the master and not for himself. This leads to the meditation of action. The initial modes of the meditation of action usually take the following forms. A. The aspirant mentally offers to the master all that is in him, thus renouncing all that is good in him as well as all that is evil. This frees him from the good as well as the bad elements of the ego and helps him to find a lasting integration of being with the master. B. The aspirant volunteers for the service of the master. Doing work for the master in a spirit of selfless service is as good as meditation. C. The aspirant does not allow the ego to seize upon any of his actions, small or great, good or bad. He does not think, I do this. On the contrary, he develops the thought that though him, the master is doing all that he does. For example, when he looks, he thinks the master is looking. When he eats, he thinks the master is eating. When he sleeps, he thinks the master is sleeping. When he drives a car, he thinks the master is driving the car. Even when he may happen to do something wrong, he thinks the master is doing this. Does he? Very good. Relinquishes all identity with his action, and everything is brought into reference to the master. This necessarily involves the determination of each act in the light of his spiritual ideal as seen in the master.
Thank you, Vijay.
Yeah.
Rolf, would you like to read?
Thank you, Ernie. I'm pretty clogged up.
Oh,
I'll go for 2 minutes if you'll sound the bell, huh?
okay.
Are we at the 4 forms?
We are.
I kind of listen. The 4 forms of personal meditation on the master represent the 4 main ascending stages. 1, perceiving the spiritual ideal in the master. 2, concentrating upon the master as an embodiment of the spiritual ideal. 3, loving the master as a manifestation of the spiritual ideal. And 4, expressing the spiritual ideal perceived in the master. No, 4, expressing the spiritual ideal perceived in the master in one's own life. Personal meditation on the master in its different forms contributes towards the release of the creative life of spiritual fulfillment. Meditation on the master is a meditation on the living ideal and not on the conception of perfection. It therefore generates the dynamic power that enables the aspirant to bridge the gulf between theory and practice, and to unify the spiritual ideal with everyday actions in his own life. To live the life that is inspired and illumined by the spiritual ideal as embodied in the master is the culmination of all forms of personal meditation. How's that?
Very, very nice.
Thank you.
Do you want to continue reading, or are you wore out?
How much longer do we have time-wise? I've got to make an appointment here pretty soon.
Oh, okay. We'll let you go then, Rolf. That was excellent. Thank you.
Okay, Jai Baba, thank you.
So I think this is a good place to stop today. Unless Rosalie, are you handy? Do you want to read again? We're not seeing you in the video. So we'll stop here. It's page 117. Pick it up next.
No,
Oh no, here's Rosalie to the rescue.
No, I stop. I have my thoughts about what we've read. Yeah, and anyway, I'm grateful we read them, but I think actually this new sharing that Baba gives through speaking to Noreen